Hi everybody and welcome to today's session. My apologies for our late start. We had a bit of a load shedding interruption moment, ran around scattered, but we are here and we are so excited about today's event. I must say it's been a really incredible journey to getting to this point with you guys here today. This event is the first of its kind for us at Schoolscape, and it's really one that's come out of just a lot of discussions with educators on what it is that you would like to see, what are the needs are, what are the areas we can address. And so after a lot of discussions, we formulated the future of work. And I think personally, it's just really been a passion project of mine. So exciting to kind of venture down the road of how important schools really are in what we are building into young kids today. So much more than subjects, and you as the staff of schools have such a greater impact on the kids than just teaching them head knowledge. And today is all about really not much about the head knowledge and a lot about how do we develop our young people into incredible, strong, capable, Thank you, Jacob van der Merwe. Someone muted me in the background. Great, I'm back now. So what I was saying is that we are so excited today to not look just at the side of developing our young children's intellect, but really them as holistic people. So if we're going to jump into some housekeeping rules before we kick off on our speaker side of it, is that if you're a teacher here today and you're joining us, there's the ability for you to get CPDT points. So there's going to be a link that gets posted in the chat bar to a little Google form. If you fill our incredible SACE partners, same as always, get SACE points and CPD points. So we're really excited about being able to accredit those points to you as well. If you somehow can't view this, please just refresh your browser. And if you're having problems with sound and you're not logged in from Chrome, jump in on the same link from Chrome and it should sort out those problems. These sessions are recorded, and so if you have to run out for some calamity at school or something like that, or a calamity at home, wherever you're tuning in from, they are recorded and you can pick up from where you are watching straight afterwards by logging in on the same links again. The next two sessions that follow this are Monday next week and then the Thursday that follows, and you'll be getting those session links in your inboxes tomorrow, so you can look out for those. Lastly, throughout this event, we're going to be posting polls on some of the speakers, some of the companies, some questions and thinking. Please engage in those, as well as our chat bar. If you have questions, throw it into the chat bar and we will ask them to the presenters live. And then after this session, we have some breakout rooms. So we'll show you later how to get into those breakout rooms. Simply, you're going to be able to click from here, go into a breakout room. And these are just to have some peer-on-peer discussions between educators. So this is to highlight some of your wins in these areas, to highlight some of your shared common challenges. And we're really hoping that you can learn and glean from each other in this regard. Great. Now that housekeeping is out the way, I'm going to lead straight into our first presenter of today. So our first presenter is, his name is Jared Molko. He's an ex-Google exec out of corporate, worked with young people in one of the most innovative companies out there globally, but has come out of that context with such a passion in developing and equipping the next generation. So Jared is going to be speaking to us on the workplace of the 21st century, and this is just to kick off the event and our kind of thinking in it. The idea is for him to speak on to where is it that our kids are actually going one day, and what are we preparing them for, and how is this changing from when we were students or learners and into our first workplace. Even schools environments are changing. Never thought we would all do school online. So you've all done well, extremely well at that. But as the learners leave school nowadays, that landscape is so different. So Jared, welcome to Schoolscape Events, the future of work. It is so good to have you here.
Thank you.
Jared,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear and perfectly. Jared, I'm going to leave you to it. I have no great insights on this. I'm so excited about what you have to share today, and you can kick us off. I'm going to share your presentation so long, and then you can get going.
Great, thank you. Okay, hi everyone. Good old emoji hi. I suppose that's how the kids of today are speaking, and very much in line with the way that I look at things around trying to be contemporary and engage with kids with where they're at and language and all of those wonderful things. When Ashley first approached me, the name of this talk was actually going to be the jobs of the future. And I said to her, I don't think that's a good idea because firstly, it's honestly impossible to be able to predict that. So what I thought we could do instead is talk about the shifts and the changes that are happening in the world of work and what that means for us as human beings, and how do we ensure that we continue to create value well into the 21st century. So that's what the talk's about. I hope you find it insightful. So first thing, which I think is a nice grounding for what's happening, it's something called the Sinafin framework. It was developed by some smart guys at Harvard. And what that does is that it looks at the world of work through the lens of cause and effect. So the more obvious cause and effect is, the easier it is to conduct one's job. And the more ambiguous and hard to detect what the cause is that is happening within the workplace, the more complex and chaotic it becomes in the world of work. And I'm sure you can see where we're going here is that we've moved very quickly from the simple and complicated quadrants to operating in the complex and chaotic quadrants when it comes to work. And so that has implications. It has lots of implications. One of the implications is that people that are entering the world of work can't simply rely on subject matter knowledge anymore. Whilst one obviously needs to have grounding in subject matter, we can't rely on guidelines, best practices, and principles in the same way that we were able to when cause and effect was very clear. People of today have to tackle new and novel situations at work on a daily basis. People have to respond to situations, think critically, problem solve, all of those things that requires a lot more from individuals. And as I say, that has some ripple effect consequence. And so what that is leading to in terms of a shift is this shift that people are talking about towards a skills-based economy. So that is a shift away from a credential or qualifications-based economy and more towards a skills-based economy, where employers are looking at individuals and trying to ascertain whether the individual has the prerequisite skill to do the job effectively, and whether or not they can or can't learn a particular skill. And so a large part of this talk is actually around skills, because I think that that's far more important to understand than jobs themselves. We as human beings are going to have to continue to create value, and with the disruption and the advent of technologies, the benchmark, or what it means for us to create value, is rising higher and higher. And so we need to make sure that we're ahead of the curve in terms of developing the right skills that allows us to thrive. Another interesting piece of insight that was done by McKinsey was they asked a bunch of Fortune 500 companies. They did a lot of research and asked them what are the characteristics or the aspects of an employee that they are looking for when making hiring decisions. And they asked these companies, where do they feel is going to become more important into 2025? And so you can see that there's a massive decline when it comes to subject knowledge as well as intelligence. And what they mean by intelligence is actually around qualification, grades, and marks. These are becoming less important indicators to employers. And what's becoming more important is the skill component. Does the person have the right kinds of skills? The mindset or the developability, which essentially points to someone's ability to learn. And the reason why that's become so important is that because things are changing so quickly in the world of work, and because, you know, one day a certain subject knowledge or information is applicable and the next day it's outdated, it means that people are having to continuously learn as a prerequisite for being an effective worker. So one's ability to learn is in fact very important, and employers are spending a lot of money on their own training and development programs for that very reason. So they look at people's ability to tackle new and novel situations and how quickly they can learn and improve. And then the last component is adaptability, which talks to a person's ability to respond to new and novel situations, which is very much in line with that initial framework I was talking about, where the world of work is becoming extremely challenging. So as I say, the benchmark has risen, and we as humans have to rise to the challenge, as they say. This was taken from the World Economic Forum. So they looked at what are the skills that are growing and what are the skills that are declining over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. I'm not going to go through them all, but I will touch on a few things here. You'll see in the declining side of things like memory, that's less important. They've even said they're reading, writing, and math, which is very interesting and, you know, somewhat, I suppose, controversial. Coordination, manual dexterity. Now, the reason why these are being called out as declining skills is very simple. It's because technology is automating those functions and doing them far better than any human being can do. So what's growing are things like being able to solve complex problems, influence, emotional intelligence, creativity, originality, critical thinking, analytical thinking. So these are the things that are becoming more important. And if you take that particular information and then you group them, you can essentially group those growing skills into 4 quadrants: the ability to analyze, the ability to innovate, the ability to connect with people and influence, and the ability to develop and continuously learn and develop. And so that's a nice framing tool in terms of the kinds of areas that are important for us. And now what I'd like to do is also then just zoom in a little bit more into the skills. So when you look at skills, there are essentially 3 kinds of skills. There are functional or transferable skills, which I believe are the most important skills, and I'll explain why in a sec. Then you've got your special knowledge skills, which are the skills you need, specific skills you need to do a job. So, you know, if you're an accountant, you need to understand accounting and use and utilize accounting softwares. If you're a graphic designer, you need to have skills in Adobe, Photoshop, or Illustrator. These are the specific skills that you need. And then you have self-management skills, which are essentially the skills that allow you to perform at a high level. So the ability to be disciplined, adaptive, cooperative, supportive, tactical. But back to the transferable skills. So the reason why transferable skills are very important, especially in the context of this talk, is that the reality is that we have no idea what careers are going to be growing and declining over the next 10 years or so. And, you know, a 10-year horizon is relevant to a child in grade 9, grade 10, and grade 11. We don't know what those jobs are going to be. If you span back to 10 years from now, there are many, many job titles that we didn't even know existed. For example, right now, a job that is very high in demand is something called a cloud engineer. If you said that word to someone 10 years ago, you're going to want to become a cloud engineer. They would think that your head is in the clouds. They wouldn't really have any idea about what you're talking about. And so what is useful is to say, we don't know what jobs are going to be out there, but we do know that there are certain kinds of skills that you can transfer from any kind of job in any situation, in any context. If you're good at teaching, that means that you can teach in a variety of different contexts. If you're good at analyzing, you can analyze in a variety of different contexts. If you're good at coordinating, researching, these are transferable skills. And so, I place a lot of importance on that, and empowering and encouraging people to develop transferable skills is the safest bet, the best hedge that you have against what is a very uncertain and fast-changing world of work. So when you drill down a little bit further into kinds of transferable skills, there are essentially three kinds. There's skills that are related to dealing with data, there's skills that are related to dealing with people, and there's skills that are related to dealing with things. And within those, you've got higher order and lower order skills. So if you look at this particular graphic, at the bottom, it's starting with the lower order type skills. So for data, things like comparing information, copying information, or compiling information, whilst that is a skill, it is a lower order skill. And the reality is that the lower order skills are the skills that are in the direct firing line of automation. So it's very important as well that we recognize what are the higher order functions and what are the lower order functions in terms of skill development, so that we prepare our youth to be able to operate at a level where they can continue to add value. So a higher order skill for data would be the ability to synthesize information. So the ability to take disparate pieces of information from different areas and then make sense of it collectively, which is a very, very difficult thing for a machine to do, and something really only a human can do at this stage. Same goes for the people side of things. So if it's just around speaking, well, that's not really going to last that long in terms of value. But if you're effective at negotiating and mentoring, that's something that really only a human being can do. And that's where we need to be leading people in terms of their skill development. And the same goes for handling of things. So if you're just handling stuff and moving things from one place to another, that's for sure already being automated. But if you're doing precision-based work or building or setting things up, that's a higher order function. So now I'm going to take a little bit of a sidestep and leave the skill component aside and talk more around career path and a little bit more into what's going on or the implications of the various revolutions, let's say, that are taking place. So firstly, when it comes to career paths, the traditional mindset or the traditional idea around you pick a particular career or profession and then you stick within that profession for the next 20 to 30 years and that's it, that is an old paradigm. A number of top universities came out with a research paper, and they predicted that the young kids of today are going to have to do at least 3 to 5 career transitions in their lifetime. That's changing your entire vocation 3 to 5 times, which is it's a crazy thing to think about. Now there are pros and there are cons to that. The positive side of things is that the high stakes nature of picking, let's say, the right career isn't as much as it used to be in the past, where if you picked one career, that was it. You put all your eggs in that basket. The way in which the world is developing and access to content, access to information, this shift towards micro accreditations, short courses, all of those things is allowing people to be far more fluid and flexible and supporting and enabling people to transition between careers very quickly, which I think is a real positive, and also takes away that high stakes nature of per se choosing the right career. Granted, you always want to make the right decisions, but it's you will have many options to change. You don't have to go and get a 4-year qualification at the age of 35 to transition into a different vocation. The drawback is that it has quite a significant mental demand on the individual. We as human beings naturally start to base our identity alongside our careers. I'm a teacher, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. And then if you're not that anymore, then, well, who are you? So I think that there is some, we're going to have to develop what they call neuroplasticity, which is not being open and flexible and adaptable to change, which takes some work. And that is something that I think teachers are going to have to need to instill in young people, is this openness and willingness to change. Change is not the enemy. Change is your friend. The other, I would say, challenge around the realities here is that it does make navigating in one's career complex. There are a lot of choices. There's you can shift between options very quickly and easily, and so that adds a lot of complexity to one's individual choices, essentially. So with that in mind, I like to use this analogy, which is to say, if we are in a world of a lot of uncertainty and a lot of change, what would you rather give someone? Would you rather give them a map to help them navigate, or a compass? And for me, if things are changing at a rapid rate and there's a lot of uncertainty, and one day the road leads here and the next day the road leads somewhere else, and the map is essentially becoming outdated, what you want to equip someone with is a compass, and more metaphorically speaking, an internal compass that allows that individual to navigate themselves. And so what I mean by that is that, doing less telling and more enabling for the individual to make the right decisions for themselves, and empowering individuals to be able to course correct themselves, because that is what they're going to have to do throughout their career lives. They're probably going to be working to 75, 80 years old. It's a long, long journey, and they're going to have to make many, many career choices during that period in time. So equipping young individuals with a compass, with those tools that allows them to navigate, I feel is incredibly important. Now, this is another useful thing to note, and this is around the kinds of workers that are actually in the workplace. And what's nice is you can essentially distill it down to two kinds of people, specialists and generalists. I did an entire TEDx talk around this topic, and if you're interested in what that's about, feel free to, it's on YouTube. And the reason why it's important to note is that specialists are people that specialize in their profession. So I want to be a doctor, I want to specialize, I want to be a lawyer, and you specialize. And the industrial model has very much encouraged specialization. The industrial model works towards specializing. You pick your subjects, you pick your qualification, and then you specialize. Generalists have had a hard time in previous decades in terms of how they're valued at work, and that's actually changed very, very rapidly, where generalists, people who have diversity in skill and diversity in experience, are becoming more and more valued in the world of work. And so, you know, that good old saying of, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. The full saying there is actually jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than master of one. That's actually the entire saying. And what that's saying is that it's actually very, very useful to have a multitude of skills. And so part of why I decided to bring this up, and it's also very much part of the TED Talk that I'd done, is to say that kids should be encouraged to experience a variety of things. You don't need to be a doctor to be, if you're not going to be a doctor, you're still going to be, you're still going to have value. And in fact, diversity of skill and experiences is something that may in fact give you the edge. And so I think that that's a very nice and useful concept to bring across to kids. And I'm seeing a lot of like thumbs up and bravos, which is great to see. And I would again encourage you to listen to the talk I gave on it, where I really go in depth here, because I do think a lot of kids get despondent, where it's like, well, I can't be a doctor, or I can't be a lawyer, or I can't be an actuary, or I can't be an accountant, and there's no hope, which really isn't the case. Then I also just want to touch on two more things, which is people talk about the fourth industrial revolution, and I personally really don't like that that name. It's not really what's going on. The real revolutions that are happening, and they're happening concurrently, are the revolution around the atom, so physics, the revolution around the byte, which is the digital revolution, and the ability to encode information in zeros and ones, and the network effect around that. And now the latest revolution, which is the revolution around the gene, or the human body, or the bio or nanotechnology. These are the revolutions that are taking place right now. They have, you know, there are massive consequences, and so much that we have to grapple with, and specifically around an ethical, around ethics, around what's going on, because, you know, we're on a speed train, and it's going faster than we can deal with. And so part of where I think is so important for teachers nowadays is to have these conversations with young kids, because the kids that are coming through our education system now are the ones that are going to be so impacted by what's going on now. You know, in the next 10 years, who knows what's going to be happening. And we're all going to have to make some very values-based decisions around how we want to engage and operate in the world. So to end off, I'd like to kind of go back to the Renaissance, which, you know, we're essentially going through a Renaissance right now, and you know, the leader of the Renaissance, Leonardo da Vinci, and his Vitruvian Man, and he was obviously a polymath. But if you break apart what it means to be a polymath, what we need to encourage from our kids today is to encourage the thinkers, the builders, the connectors, and the philosophers that can help guide and navigate us through the rest of the 21st century. So I'll end off there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jared. Jared, it's really a pleasure to just hear your thinking around this and the process that you've been through to kind of figure out where we're heading and how we can equip our next generation best. So, Jared, we're going to say goodbye to you for the minute. Jared will be back a little bit later, and he's going to be speaking on some of the incredible things that his company Yenza has founded to help you equip your students to flourish in a society that he's actually addressed in his talk now. Next up, we have Dean McCoubrey. Dean is someone that I met years ago as a speaker at a Edu Week or an EdTech conference like that. And Dean really blew me away with his talk and his passion around student safety online. So this is obviously a little bit, his kind of passion and thinking is a little bit removed from his topic today, but really it is the backbone of finding the balance of where we are heading as a society and heading in that direction digitally well and safely for our learners. And so Dean brings a great balance. Today, Dean's going to really be looking at igniting the spark in our future workers. So he's going to show you tools and tricks. We want to take a little bit of a practical stance here that are actually going to help you be able to help develop your learners' potential in a way that they can present it to their future employers, essentially. But these are just some great programs that we thought that would help you go back to your learners and give them some new skills that maybe they didn't know tomorrow. So Dean, I'm going to then welcome you on stage. Hello, hi Dean. And,
hello guys.
Presentation, and then I'm going to let you get on your way.
Lovely. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Enjoy.
Have you got me loud and clear?
Perfect.
Okay, good. First of all, thank you, Ashley, Peter, the school advisor team, and thanks to all of you guys for being here. I really enjoyed Jared's presentation. I've got like a whole scribble of notes, and it's quite interesting because I'm going to be talking about something that's quite different. In a way, Jared was talking about the skills, the evolving skills that are going to be required. And he talked about those transferable skills in 3 pillars: data, people, and things. And I'm more specifically going to be dealing with the people aspect, the students themselves as humans, because ultimately, in order to get a career, in order to rapidly move through your career, we ideally need great humans with good value systems that are highly capable, dynamic, and as he said, have EQ, critical thinking, analytical thinking that can course correct and so on. But in the world that I work in, which I personally work in teaching thousands and thousands of teens and preteens about the use of digital device, media literacy, online safety, all of those types of things, I think a lot of you that are in schools can see that there's a bit of an obstacle in the way. So let me get started. For me, when we talk about the future of work, I think we need to think very much about the fact that it will be dictated by our future workers. So that's the millennials, that's Gen Z. And I think in the same way that those that are now over the age of 40 or 45 are now hired for experience and insight, and I saw some diagram around this recently, those that are under 30, even under 25, are fast becoming our technical innovators, our early adopters, and really our, sorry Jared, our 4IR leaders. So there's a challenge. Are we so focused on the future of work that we might be missing a trick of where they actually are now in terms of how equipped they are digitally? I'm not talking about competence or confidence. I'm talking about things like humans that use digital devices. And because what we're seeing that there is a challenge around focus, and that they need clearer direction in order to realize the potential of these future workers. So I'm just going to move my slides on. So the whole interesting thing about life is that it presents us continual choices: which schools to attend, which subjects or hobbies to adopt, which career to pursue. We see this all the time. And any student from the age of, say, 16, maybe even earlier, through to the early 20s, will toil with all of these questions. And so these particular years right now are central to their future of work. And there are so many options for them to look behind. Our kids have more access than any other generation in the palm of their hand. They can go anywhere, see anything. They can investigate, surf, browse, explore, click, learn. They have laptops, tablets, phones, VR goggles, smartwatches. You see where I'm headed here? And they're all fast tracking us into the future. But are the humans keeping pace? The human aspect of it? Are they matching our potential with the pace of technological advancement? And I'm not talking about TikTok here. So let's imagine this corridor, and we have our kids right at the beginning of this corridor. And how many of these doors have they really walked down? Some of the areas that Jared is talking about, those areas of data or people or things skills. Have we taken them down there? Because what I can see is that the amount of time that they spend on digital devices, both in school and out of school, is that they're spending their time on TikTok, Insta, paparazzi, Fortnite, Among Us, and so on. And of course, they're young and they're kids and they need to socialize and so on. But if I asked how long they'd got down that corridor in that photograph, 3 or 4 doors. I think there's so many doors for them to look down in order to look through those keyholes and find those areas in the future of work that they think they can explore and excel. And I think schools globally have often failed at career guidance, going all the way back. Maybe I'm talking about my own personal experience, but like really great career guidance, connecting to the human and getting them to find their passion and explore and excel has not always been amazing. We miss that connection part, triggering that spark in these kids. So now there's this all-consuming and added distraction in the lives of our kids that might be stopping many of them from actually peering through that keyhole and going, wow, as any of those things that Jared had just said, which are like totally incredible. So, you know, where they are is that they're living quite a lot in this world. I mean, that's what I see. We teach 8 hours of digital life skills, social media awareness, and online safety training. It's TikTok, paparazzi, VSCO, Kik, Insta, Snap, hours and hours and hours of this stuff. Now, what if you borrowed 20 minutes of this time a day to use in some other areas, like where we need to develop these skills? Because we know it's going to be a highly competitive decade, and we know AI is going to be playing a big role. In other words, we need to borrow some of that time. We need to start to invest this time and dial up our 10,000 hours. We need to be depositing in our retirement fund of skills, in my opinion, and I know they're young, but we need to deposit into there by borrowing a little bit of that time, removing some of that distraction, and again, triggering that spark to get them flying into all sorts of areas of technological innovation. Because these supercomputers that are in our backpacks and pockets, they're faster and cheaper than ever before. They're going to be ubiquitous even for many of the underprivileged over the next few years. And we're using them down those first few doors of that corridor: social media, Netflix, gaming. And that's super, that's great. But there's way more down that corridor. And so we need to move beyond 1 or 2 dimensions of technology and move into the future. So, you know, the challenge here is that this is completely understandable. Our teens, since they received these devices in 2007, smartphones and tablets in 2010, there or thereabouts for any people that want to get into the finer details with me. But these things are built by some of the finest minds around the world, particularly in Silicon Valley. They know how to puppeteer our neurobiology, and they know how to give us global access and reach. They're sticky, but maybe we're stuck. So if we want to achieve all these things in the future of work as these future workers, my question is, are we not going to need to borrow a little bit more time in order to invest and explore and start to excel? You'll see I keep saying the same thing. And I think it's simply because this next decade is going to be intensely competitive. There will be a borderless talent pool, and AI will be snatching at jobs. And this guy here, Daniel Pink, you can find him on masterclass.com. He's like a global master of sales and persuasion. And he says, when we want to kind of pierce through the bubble and connect with people and get them to engage with us, we need to understand a couple of the things that are in the room. You see, the thing about our kids is that they're so exposed, they have so much access to information on so many channels and connection points that they think they know a lot. And he talks about this thing called information asymmetry. Once upon a time, we would go to a secondhand car salesman and he'd say there's aircon and there's beautiful leather seats, and we'd go, I'm buying off you, man. You know what you're talking about. But now we're so exposed. Our kids are so exposed. And we see this in the classroom, that they're saying, no, it's not like that. Because they're believing what they see. They don't necessarily have those critical thinking skills around just the media that they're consuming. So what do teachers need to do? What do schools need to do? Is we need to tune up those skills. We as teachers need to be attuned to what's happening in their popular culture. We need to be passionate about persuading them. And so that what we can do is we can actually move these guys. We can move these guys from some of the issues that we are seeing in schools. Those are things of attention, self-esteem, from all of that comparison, attitude, sleep, homework, all of these types of things. So in my view, one of the skills before all of those 4 IR skills is DQ, digital quotient, the blend of IQ meets EQ meets DQ.
I just want to jump in 1 second.
Yeah.
So you've only got 2 minutes left. I haven't got to the thing. Just
That's fine.
You know, I'm
gonna race it.
I'm loving what you're saying. Mind blowing. Just letting you know.
Okay, I'm with you. Don't worry. We won't do those videos. We're not going to do those videos.
So sorry.
Okay. So how could we trigger the promise for these kids? Well, sadly, I had some of these ideas, but look them up yourself. We show this in schools. We show grade 10, 11, and 12s, these tools. Go and look at themeforest.net, okay? Now, on themeforest.net, there are tens or maybe more of thousands of websites that you can buy for $50, world-class websites that you can buy. And we show these kids how they can download them for $50, some of them for $9, and you can even get somebody to upload them. You can put up your own personal CV. You can go into ThemeForest and see that you don't need to use Wix. You're going to use something absolutely premium as though you were a company. We're going to try and trigger that entrepreneurial spirit or that personal brand. For example, if they want to kind of stand out in their varsity application, go and look at resume.io. I had videos for you, but I spoke too much. But the point is on resume.io, you can build up like, hey, this is me. But then you can choose 12 or 15 different creative templates to make it look any way you want. It looks like a world-class CV. I just did one for a professional. But I'm suggesting to kids that they use it to show what their skills and ambitions and hobbies are. Look at Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. It's the world's largest freelance marketplace where you can get a lot of jobs for about $5 or $10. We show kids how they can get logos for their own name or these small businesses. And if people think that this isn't true, I have a 13-year-old that has a sticker business that made $3,500 at a craft fair a few Saturdays ago. And my other daughter sells flares of all things via Instagram. They just pick it up. They love it. That's the interest. That's the spark that they want. What about LinkedIn for Students? Do you know that LinkedIn for Students starts at the age of 14? And one of the reasons why is if they're using social media, why don't they use the social media platform that doesn't have that much bullying in it, that builds a professional network, that inspires and mentors? It's a different type of professional network. Why don't we show them that? We are actually partners with, or starting to create a partnership with Turn Left Media, which is LinkedIn's partners in Sub-Saharan Africa. So very quickly, before she knocks me off this call, one of the reasons why is if you had this application that had, hey, www.deanmccoubrey.com and LinkedIn for Students application, and you had like some cool intro or a logo, people are going to look and go, you know how to use tech. You're pretty impressive. You show that you mean business. Number two, you take control of your own online narrative. And then you get to start that professional networking early. My final point is you're also going to need human skills. You're going to need EQ. You're going to need discipline. You're going to need self-regulation. You're going to need apps like Calm and Headspace, because we do see that kids are struggling online. I am stopping at this point, Ashley. But thanks for listening.
Dean, unbelievable. Thank you so much. Please, if you want to connect with Dean, do so. Dean's going to pop his information in. If you're looking and you are concerned about your children's safety and what they're getting up to online, Dean is the foremost internationally leading expert on keeping our kids safe online. So please connect with him. And there was a comment, Dean, that came out earlier that they're so worried that their kids are disconnecting from normal social interaction because they're so busy online. And these are things that I would love to hear you address, but I can't, not in this forum. We'll bring you back soon to speak on exactly those things. So watch out for Schoolscape future events with Dean. We love hearing Dean speak. We love to know what they're doing at My Social Life, and connect with Dean. If you have questions you'd like answered around these things, he is available to you. So Dean, you can pop your email address in there if you want, and everyone can ask you questions on that forum. Great. So goodbye, Dean. Next up, we have a jam-packed schedule. We're running a little bit behind time. If you have to jump off, you can watch the session for the rest of the session on demand later. You can finish it up at home. But next up, we're going to bring Jared back on. Jared actually founded a company out of all this thinking called Yenza. Their passion really is to develop students to be able to be equipped for what's ahead, but it's really focused on equipping students as a holistic being, and they have developed an insane platform. I kept saying to him the whole time, where was this when I was a learner? Like, my path might have looked a little more like this and a little less like, woo! So Jared, can you just give us a good introduction on Yenza? And we're so excited to just have you here today. Yenza is also the sponsor of today, so they've made a lot of this possible. So thank you guys. We're really, really, really excited to tackle head on equipping our kids well. So Jared, over to you.
Thanks, Ashley. You can hear me, huh?
Perfect. Oh.
Can I share I'm going to share my screen.
Go ahead.
Just going to make that easier. Key. Can you see it says here, your Smart Career Guide?
We can see it. Thank you.
Okay, great. So, yeah, thanks, Ashley. I know we're short on time, so I'm going to make this short, sharp, and snappy. So we've created this really cool career app where we essentially are trying to become someone's personalized career guide, coach, mentor, trainer, all in one. The platform is really great. It helps educational psychologists and LO teachers do their job far more effectively. There is essentially 3 outcomes to the platform, and helping people gain career clarity, develop their skills, and find opportunities faster. And so we've got this, what we call a Yenza pathway, where someone goes through 4 stages in our platform. The learning stage, where we've built some really amazing assessments from the ground up ourselves, which you're going to see now, one of them in a sec. We make personalized career recommendations out of some very smart technology and algorithms, which I'll explain now. And we've built our own career library where we're focusing in on high demand, high growth careers, because we want people to pursue careers that are on the upward trajectory, and making sure we're focusing people's energy and attention in the right areas. Then we've built these amazing Explorer tools, which essentially help people navigate across a lot of information when it comes to subject choice, tertiary options, bursary options, and jobs. And we know that this can be a very overwhelming, time-consuming experience. So we've built these really fun, fast, and easy to use Explorer tools to help people essentially navigate. And then on the develop front, we are integrating a bunch of both local and global, highly credible skills-based courses. So this is, close to my heart, as you heard me speak earlier, around equipping people with the right kinds of skills as early on in their career journeys as possible. We've also built our own really, really amazing CV, which is an employability tool that's designed to really mobilize people to take action. And then the last part is we're going to be offering people assistance in actually finding opportunities. But I would say the real innovation around our tool, and I think this is something that, when you saw this, Ashley, you really appreciated, is that we are utilizing the best of what technology has to offer. So we call it Smart Career Technology, where we take a very integrated approach at understanding people, and then our platform essentially adapts and responds to the individual on a personalized basis and makes personalized recommendations along someone's career journey. So that's really who we are. And then I just want to quickly give people a sneak peek into our platform. I'm going to take the audience through one of our assessments. And as I say, we've really just wanted to modernize everything and meet young kids with where they're at. As Dean was talking about, we've got kids that are engaging with all kinds of apps and media. And for us to build solutions that get people highly engaged, they need to be of a certain standard. And I find that with traditional assessments, at least, there needs to be a major upgrade. We're also multilingual, so we're trying to be as inclusive as possible. This is, as I say, just one of the examples of our assessments. Just waiting for it to load. So we use behavioral imagery, a simple question, me, not me. You can change the languages. So we want to make it, as I say, as inclusive as possible for people. And the beauty about this assessment is it works so well on a mobile device, so well on a tablet, and it takes on average 5 to 7 minutes for people to complete this assessment. And this is all of our assessments, scientifically validated assessments. These aren't fly-by-night quizzes either. And so we've really had a very positive receptivity to how we're designing and engaging with people and meeting them with where they're at. So I just wanted to show you a bit of that, and if anyone wants to find out more, they're more than welcome to. I'll stop there.
Jared, I wish we could leave you to continue, but over the next 3 sessions, so this makes up one part of 3-part series that we are going to be doing for the future of work. So you're going to hear more and see more about specific tools for Yenza, as well as amazing other companies in the next 3, or in this one further on, and then 2 sessions after this. So we'll hear a lot more and we'll see a lot more specifics on Yenza. I am going to jump in to the next session, and I'm actually going to ask, well, first point I'd like to say is that we are really excited to bring some amazing companies. So if you have been at any of our Schoolscape events, we're all about bringing great educational suppliers to our incredible South African schools. And so this event is jam-packed to balance both. We want to look at the learner holistically and what teachers are actually struggling with in their classrooms day to day, preparing for them for the world out there. And then at the same time, we want to bring you some tools and some testing and some amazing platforms that are going to help you be able to prepare your learners better. And just take that load off teachers at the same time. So what I want to say is that we're going to transition now into our next part of, and the last part of today, before we do some very, very exciting, engaged, interactive breakout rooms for educators. And so we want to go into session now where we're going to invite Alex on stage, as well as Antonette. Alex is from a company called Eduvelopment. Now, Eduvelopment has also developed an amazing platform. We're going to see a lot more of Eduvelopment's platform as the event rolls out, but this platform is also there developed to help and equip and test and guide students into their careers better. Then Antonette is from an organization called Veea Group. Veea Group also very much looks at the individual themselves and then how to develop specific skills that they will leave school with, that they'll be able to be accelerated into their careers, whatever that is, if it's going to study or if it's not going to study. And so we're really excited about this. We're going to have a little bit of a panel discussion now. So get ready, everybody, to be blown away by some amazing tools. Today's panel discussion is going to focus on tools and testing. So I'm sure that there are many aptitude tests that you are using with your kids already, or sending them off to the state universities, and they're paying thousands and thousands and thousands of rand to aptitude to test and do these tests. But we want to bring you some tools that we have found that are phenomenal at testing students where they're at, and kind of going to have a discussion on the thinking that backs those tools. So firstly, we're going to look at Eduvelopment. Hello, Alex. Welcome.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for having us.
Great to have you. Alex, the first thing that we want to look at is, what is your kind of philosophy when you approach learners with testing? And what makes this unique from Eduvelopment?
So yes, definitely. I think Eduvelopment has taken a hands-on and a more fresh approach to the way we choose to assess the learners that subscribe to our platform. I'm going to paint just a typical picture of what I think probably happens quite a lot from what I've heard from educators in schools and parents is you'll find typically a grade 9 learner going out there. They have to do an aptitude assessment now in preparation for subject choice. Hopefully they do the assessment. They get the feedback, and so they make their decisions. And so they really start etching out those first steps in their future path. And it's all based on one assessment. At Eduvelopment, we really try and we prefer to give a holistic view of that child to the learner and the parent. And we do this by providing annual and varied assessments. So it's not necessarily just, psychometric. It's personality, it's emotional intelligence. It's all different angles that we look at. We think it's important for a learner to go on their journey of self-discovery with their parents in high school, so that we can also try and neutralize and eliminate any potential points of conflict or undesirable outcomes where the parent, with their child's best interest at heart, is definitely pushing A. This is what you should be pursuing, and this is what I understand. And as we've been speaking now in this whole conference, we are, even at my age, a little bit out of touch in terms of what's happening in our children's futures. So parents need to have information at hand that is relevant and correct. They need to have a solid understanding of their child's aptitude, their interests, their natural abilities, and obviously so does the child. I never had an assessment when I was younger, and I wish I was exposed better. So in terms of that, I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of what we do with our learners. In grade 8, we start off with EQ for Youth assessment, which is obviously based on emotional intelligence. I think it's incredibly well timed for a grade 8 learner to become aware of what emotional intelligence is, why it's so significant. It's actually been identified as a critical skill in the 21st century. So they can gain that kind of insight at an early age to build that emotional resilience as they start with their high school career. Then in grade 9 and 11, we obviously focus on subject choice and career guidance, and we do that through OCPI, which is based on econometrics. And we repeat this assessment on purpose so that we can have an opportunity to track changes. People change, especially in high school. Interests change, strengths develop differently than possibly anticipated. And it's nice to have more than one interpretation of that assessment. Then in grade 10, we've actually teamed up with Dr. Melody Diaga. She's a specialist in child brain development and function. And her mind dynamics profile that we do is based on neuroscience. And it's incredibly interesting and a totally different angle to the child. And then in grade 12, we actually circle back to emotional intelligence. We do the EQ again. I think for a grade 12 learner, it's wonderful to be able to hone in on those skills again as they prepare. They're on the brink of huge change. There's a competitive and a very real world waiting for them, and they will need those skills as they enter that phase of life.
Incredible. Yes, Alex, I'm so excited to hear more next week from Eduvelopment. Eduvelopment really is developing a product that if you have to put your learners through it for all the years, and this is all I can think, that it's such a catalyst for success. And I think that at the moment when we look at career development and that, it really just starts at grade 11, grade 12, you just get exposed to which different study areas you can do, and usually it's at traditional universities. And I love Eduvelopment has taken this progressive, integrative approach to slowly testing and developing children as they go along. So thank you, Alex. We're definitely going to hear a lot more from Eduvelopment and the great platform that they have developed for schools in South Africa. And we'll see more from Eduvelopment next week. But Alex, thank you so much. And we really appreciate it. Giving us a little insight. If you are excited about what Alex is saying and want to hear more, want to understand more about Eduvelopment's platform and their testing tools that they have, won't you just click yes in the polls? You can go and look through the polls and just give us an indication that you'd like Eduvelopment to send you more information. All right, awesome. Next up, we are going to circle back to Yenza. So Jared, we've seen a little bit of Yenza's platform today, but you have some amazing tools and testing that you guys have developed as well. Very also an integrative approach. and you do it very much on an individual basis. So what is Yenza's this is very recent, you've been doing this in the last few years. So what are the influences that have got you to here in terms of testing? And what is your philosophy on testing students at different levels?
Cool. People might be tired of listening to me at this stage. Hope not. Just to say, if anyone does want us to wants more information or wants us to demo our tool to their schools, click on the poll and we'll be able to do that. My philosophy or our philosophy around assessments, we do take we take a more contemporary, meeting young kids with where they're at approach. So for me, I look at things like speed, engagement. We look at inclusion. That's very important to us, as well as that integrated approach, which you've mentioned. But just to talk on speed and engagement. So, the reality, and I'm sure I don't have to explain this to the teachers and educators out there, but the kids of today don't have the attention spans that they used to. Assessments or traditional assessments typically take 45 minutes to 2 hours. They're often not very engaging. And as a result, you've got young kids who are losing interest or getting fatigued, and it's kind of like drawing blood out of a rock. And that also impacts the accuracy of their inputs. And so having assessments that are very engaging and very fast are in fact makes those assessments very effective. So speed and engagement is very important for us, and we've really modernized and gamified our assessments in a way that make it highly interactive. Then on the inclusion piece is that we do not want to disadvantage anyone, especially when it comes to technology literacy as well as language literacy. We live in a country where there's so many different languages that are spoken, and that's why multilingual capability is also very important to us. And then lastly, we do take an integrated approach, which means, with specific assessments, you're looking for a particular thing. We utilize technology and underlying algorithms to make sense of an individual across a multitude of different areas, whether it be interest, personality, EQ, or IQ. We're trying to make sense of that as a whole and utilize technology in order to understand that information, to improve the recommendations that we make.
Awesome. Jared, thank you so much. It's been so good to hear from Yenza today, and Yenza sponsored today. And we're going to have a lot more on a lot more practical aspects and see a bit more on Yenza as the 3 weeks go on, as well as from Veea Group and from Eduvelopment that we heard from Alex today. And there's some amazing tools that I know that if we start to implement into our curriculums and massage into our kids and start to use to develop our kids, that we're just going to, I've had a field day looking through their stuff and getting to know their platforms and that. And I know that if we had to take this and implement it into our schools, we're going to catapult our children into such greater success. So lastly, today we've got Antonette. So Antonette is from Veea Group. Veea Group has quite a different approach to career, less career guidance and more career readiness, I would say. So they really focus on the kid and developing a kid to leave school and be prepared to do whatever is needed to do outside of that area as a holistically whole child. And so Veea Group is new to South Africa. They're actually a UK-based company that has seen just the need to bring kind of their product into South Africa and be able to use. So they're looking for schools to pilot their product. So if you like what you're hearing from Veea Group, please click yes in the polls. Please visit the polls to connect with both Alex and Jared. But if you like what you're hearing from Veea Group, please indicate so, because we would love to connect some schools to Veea Group. I've gone through it as a fine comb through their curriculum and their development, skills development platform that they have, and it's really quite something. So Antonette, let's start hearing a little bit about your platform today. But the question around tools and testing, you guys aren't really that much into testing, but really your whole site is a tool to be used. So how do you prepare learners to be ready to transition successfully from school to the real workplace out there?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining and for still being here as we are running a bit over. But how interesting was the talk from Dean and Jared as well. It was really worth listening to. But yes, as Ashley mentioned, so Veea Group has been in the UK for about 6 years now. They launched in 2014, and they've worked and developed with about 50,000 students per year in school as well as university level students. And what makes us unique is that we also working with the schools and universities is one part of of Veea Group, and the other part is where we work with companies. And we've actually worked with companies to design and build and manage their graduate and apprenticeship programs. And we've worked with some of the largest companies of the world. And through that experience of being in the industry and working with the corporates, we are always in front, with the development in terms of graduate programs and apprenticeship programs and what the world of work is actually looking for. And like Jared also mentioned, I really love that picture of the complex and chaotic world of work that we are moving in and trying to prepare our kids to build that inner compass. And I think that's sort of that's a good way of looking at our program and offering. It's not an assessment tool or psychometric tool. It is a program that we offer. It spans across grade 11 and 12 years, and we also have a part of it which we call planting the seed, but that's for later. We, in terms of piloting it in South Africa, we first want to focus on grade 11 and 12, and we upskill students in 3 areas or 3 ways. And the first of that is emotional intelligence, which we also heard quite a lot about. We look at self-awareness, resilience, your values, your confidence, and we work around that. The second area that we look at then is the employability skills, and that is all about those transferable skills, the skills that the corporate world is looking for. Problem solving, critical thinking. Are you adaptable? Can you work in a team? How do you manage your time? How do you work with and use technology? And then finally, we prepare students and kids for that transition from school into the workplace or then to university. So we look at what the challenges are in terms of transitioning. You always have this, with most changes and transitions that you go through in life, you have an expectation and a picture, and often when you get there, a few weeks or few months in the honeymoon phase is over. So, we look at just preparing kids and giving them the tools of how to deal with and manage that transition in a better way. So our entire program is very interactive. We get industry insights people in to talk to the kids, to give them a real feel of what it is like in the workplace. And then we give them a lot of skills and tools to work with. And when they are done with this program, they are certainly, better prepared for the workplace as they leave school to go into the next phase and the next journey of their life. But yes, as Ashley said, you'll hear a bit more about it as the 3 weeks go on. So yeah, that's just a short intro.
Awesome. So the real idea of today was to just intro you to 3 incredible tools. You'll see at most of our events, if you've been to Schoolscape events, we usually have an expo floor or a virtual expo floor of 50, 60 companies that can help your school. But we looked at the industry, we looked at what was going on, and we picked 3 companies that we know and we can say that we are so confident can help your school tomorrow. So if you'd like to get hold of Eduvelopment or Yenza or Antonette or all 3 of them at Veea Group, all 3 of them to look further into their products, please do. Please do so by answering yes in the polls. And the other thing is please join us next week again. So next week, we're going to highlight a little bit more into Eduvelopment and all the amazing tools. You don't want to miss this. This kind of blew my mind. I have to say this because the last week when they demoed it to me, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But they have something called Course Chooser and Subject Chooser where you can put in your subjects and then it will throw up not only thousands of courses you can do, but where you can do them and the bursaries available for them. So don't miss next week, Monday's session with Eduvelopment and Yenza and Veea Group, highlighting some of the incredible and different tools that they have developed. We're also going to hear from some incredible speakers next week. We're going to focus on some subjects at university that are coming up that were never around. And so we're really excited about that. We're also going to look at some private institutions that your kids can apply to if they don't particularly want to go study to be an accountant or a lawyer, but more skill-based programs to meet the need of the skill-based economy that we kind of focused on with Yenza this week and with Jared this week. So that brings us to the end of our session here. There is one more step I would like us to take in this journey today, and I want to invite you to, if you have the time to jump on. We're going to post now in the chat, you're going to see there is a link. There's a link that is for a breakout room. So this link is oh, there we go. On screen, it says, come join us for a breakout room in 10 minutes or join now. If you click on that link, it's going to push you there to that breakout room. This is just for educators to each give some of the wins that they have had of late in their classrooms with learners and some of the lingering challenges they haven't found solutions to yet. So this is going to be 10 minutes at max. You're each going to have a chance to chat. You're going to be in groups of 6, and this is from schools all over the country. So join us there if you would like to share some, engage in some, and we're excited to see you there. Like I said, short and sharp, and we have run over a little bit, so apologies for that today. Connect through the polls of these amazing companies. Thank you so much to Jared and to Dean for sharing today. And if you want to log your CPDT points, please scroll right up to the top of the chat. There's a Google link there, and you can jump in on that Google link and fill in your information so that we can log your CPT points if you're a teacher. Otherwise, goodbye. Thank you for joining today, and we'll see some of you in that breakout room now. Thanks again, Antonette. Thanks again, Alex. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for your time today, everybody.